Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mark. So right now I'm doing a 12-team mock PPR league, and about to do the draft right here. So this is a live draft going on right now. I'm picking seventh. There's 12 teams. So basically, what's going to happen here is I'm going to go through the draft and then kind of simulate what my thought process is. So got about a minute and 20 until the draft starts. So in general, like what I'm going to do here is like after I finish this draft, I'm going to print out the results, and then I'm going to show you the strategy of what I use. So basically, so enter the draft. You can usually like in your league, you can enter the draft room about like an hour before or something, or you could just like see like where you're gonna draft. So let's say that like in this draft, I know I'm picking 7th out of 12. So what I do in each round is I kind of create a tier. So for example, I'll go 4 picks higher than where I'm drafting. So I'd go up to number 3 pick and then down to the number 11 pick. And then I basically, of the pool of that 7 or 8 players there, which actually, it'd be 9 total. But basically of that 9, I'd rank them all out of where I like them. Because obviously, like based on the results of what happens in the draft of the size that you're using, people are going to go in different orders. But you generally, at each position that you're going to be drafting, you're going to take a look at the players that are going to be going at that position, and then you kind of make up in your mind that like, okay, well now I know that like these are going to be my options. So you're not real. I don't really like the whole concept basically of doing like a overall board, because like like a big board of like ranking all like 50, 100 plus whatever players, because it's more effective to look at it round to round, I think. And then you can really find like sleepers by using the queue technique and logging guys in if you go in and kind of search through people that you're interested in. So that's personally what I would do. And I'll kind of demonstrate that in the next video once we use this as an example. So the first guy I just picked, the draft just started, he picked Saquon. So that's pretty much expected. And right now, the next guy that it's saying to take is Zeke Elliott, and then Christian McCaffrey, and the guy that's on the clock right now is taking his time. So, but yeah, so to continue the discussion, find guys that you rank them, and then what I do in that sheet is I'll write down the people that I think went lower than their projected round, and I'll put like some stars by them or something. And that'll basically tell me in my mind, like, be sure to go in and queue this person in the draft. And then, at least on ESPN formats, you'll have, like, on the left-hand side, like, a list of all the players that you queue. And then, that way you can kind of put together the list of the guys that you're thinking of. And then, and then that way you can kind of track, like, where they are, look at your roster, and, and depending on, like, how big your league is, you can kind of figure out like where you want to take such and such person, things like that. Because there's going to be some sleepers in there that are kind of not really ranked very high, because ESPN is a very much a media entertainment site, and they just hype a lot of guys up that really don't need to be hyped. Like what's an example of that? Just thinking off the top of my head. Like Odell. I mean, Odell is good. That's not really the best example, but like they really buy into the guys that draw a lot of like attention. So, and that's not always necessarily the best players. So you have to keep that in mind when you're going through this. And this draft is just like crawling along right now, man. I'm just like, it's like we've only got to the 3rd pick. The guy took Zeke Elliott, but it was an auto draft pick because he didn't fill up his time. It's just like why do you sign up for these mock leagues if you're not even gonna do it? I just don't understand like what's wrong with these people. It's so annoying. But anyway, so this guy right now, Team Gearon, he's taking his sweet time as well, probably because he's not actually in the draft. And then it's going to keep crawling along to me at pick number 7. So anyway, so the guy that's telling me to take at pick 7 is Devontae Adams. And then, let's kind of use that little strategy for example. I'm picking 7th, so I would go up to pick 3, which is Christian McCaffrey. And then I kind of rank order the ones that I'd want, depending on if they slip. So, and Christian McCaffrey just got taken. But and Alvin Kamara also got taken. But basically, like, I'd probably put those two in the top, and then I'd go down and probably Melvin Gordon next, and then Hopkins, then Adams, and then for me it would be at least of the guys around there, I'd take Julio Jones and then Michael Thomas, and then at the 11th pick it's David Johnson, but I would possibly bump up Travis Kelce or James Conner in that position. Because I don't really like David Johnson as his outlook on that Arizona team. I think it's going to be bad. So the top 5 players have all gone, and right now the 6th pick, the guy right before me, is taking his time. So Saquon, Zeke Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, and then Le'Veon Bell. So he's probably going to take Melvin Gordon, so that's going to leave me basically in the same predicament as last time, whether or not I'm going to take Hopkins or Adams. And I think for the purposes of this, I'll take Adams, just to kind of see how that would change the strategy. But basically, I think you can't really go wrong with Hopkins or Adams. And they're both going to be good. I think that, like, maybe I give a little bit of an edge to like Hopkins, as I kind of discussed. And then Dustin Bigler, who's in this draft, he said, "Why do you register for a mock draft not to participate?" Exactly. Like, this is taken, it's like we're 6 minutes in, I'm only in the first round. So I'm just going to draft Devontae Adams right here because that's, like I said, and it's just like these people are stupid. But, like, at least the thing with the second half is, like, they're going to auto-pick a lot, I guess. But so now I'm going to pick 18. So let's take a look at that strategy since I've got some time, apparently. So the 18th pick here is Joe Mixon. So in my little sheet, what I would do is I'd write down the 4 picks ahead of Joe Mixon, the 4 picks after Joe Mixon, and then rank order that. So according to this, it's got at number 14, the highest ranked is James Conner, Odell Beckham, Tyreek Hill, Antonio Brown, Joe Mixon, Juju, Keenan Allen, Dalvin Cook, and Mike Evans. So where would I rank that? So personally, I really like Juju. I think James Conner, if he's still there, I would probably take him over Juju Smith-Schuster, but I don't think he will be. But then number 2 would be Juju. And then number 3 for me would be probably of that group, I would say Joe Mixon. And then after that, I would say Odell, then Tyreek Hill, then Odell, then AB, and Dalvin Cook would be at the bottom because he's not very consistently healthy, so I don't really feel good about him being that high. And then, yeah, so I probably, of that tier, I would rank James Conner 1, Juju 2, Joe Mixon 3, Tyreek Hill 4, Odell Beckham 5, Antonio Brown 6, Keenan Allen 7, Mike Evans 8, and Dalvin Cook 9. So I write that down. I'm a big writing down type of person, so I would basically write that down for each round of the previous results of the same size league that you're going to be drafting in. You want to do a lot of these mock drafts like this before you actually do your draft because it gives you an idea of what other people are thinking if they're actually in this draft, unlike this one. Come on, man. But yeah, I mean, you want to do these mocks, and then you kind of look at the results and you see, like, based on where you're going to be drafting, like, the people that you're going to want to build your team. So that's something good to keep in mind with. So, and then the draft is continuing. They took Hopkins, Julio, and Michael Thomas. So now the draft continues to crawl along. Somebody took David Johnson, which is good because I didn't want him anyway. It'd be interesting to see if Todd Gurley slips in this, actually, like whether or not I would consider him, because a lot of people are not particularly high on him. But I'm sure he's going to get auto-drafted next at some point. And then right now, this guy is also taking his time. So, yeah, and the other thing I do is I do that and I write it down, so that way I don't have to actually do that in my head. And then as I scroll through the draft and I look for people that I'm interested in that position, because I've got it written down basically in front of me, like, oh, like round 3, like I really like Adam Thielen, because I'm kind of scrolling down here and I've already talked about Adam Thielen, somebody I liked. I took him in the last draft. So I've basically star him, and then I look through my notes and I see, like, oh, Adam Thielen, I'll put him in the queue. and then that way you're kind of tracking him as somebody that you're going to want on your team. And then as you go through, like other guys that I like that are on the list, you got Aaron Jones. He would be good. Kenny Galladay, Patrick Mahomes, Philip Lindsay. So I mean, that's basically what I'm doing right now. Is I'm just scrolling down what the list of what they're telling me to take in their big board order. Darius Geis, I liked. O.J. Howard, I've talked about a lot. I really like him. I really do not like LaShawn McCoy, and I've already talked to you about Aaron Rodgers and why I think I don't even need to go into that again. But anyway, so that's what I do throughout this, and I'm kind of basically like keeping an eye on that. I'm keeping an eye on what these guys are doing here, and don't just draft like position by position. Like when you're going through these drafts, like really pay attention to what everybody else is doing and pay attention to what you've got in front of you, because sometimes you want to take the best position, the best player available. Kind of like the NBA. Like you don't want to draft like if you're in a draft that's got a lot of point guards, you don't want to take a center just because you need a center. You take a really good point guard because that gives you more value in either trades or like maybe they can play together, like something like that. It's just kind of approach this the same way. Like don't just fill a quarterback because you think you need a quarterback and then you draft like Tom Brady or something stupid. Okay, so James Conner is gone. So as the draft continued, Julio, Michael Thomas, David Johnson, Todd Gurley, Travis Kelce, James Conner, Joe Mixon, Odell, and Tyreek Hill. Now I'm on the clock. And so they took my number one guy of that tier. As you remember, it was James Conner. They also took my 3, 4, and 5. So Juju is here. It's telling me to take AB, but like and this is an interesting point of discussion, but I think Juju is got a better outlook for next season than Antonio Brown does. So I just drafted Juju. And the reason I say that is because like Pittsburgh is they retain almost the whole line. Juju is already very productive in that offense. Anyway, he was a top 10 receiver even with Antonio Brown there. And then now that he's gone and they got some other guys that are trying to fill into those positions, there's just so much like potential for him to just explode. Like but then Antonio Brown on the other hand, like he's got Derek Carr as his quarterback. Like we don't know what you're getting with him. Like, and then Antonio Brown is just like it just like causes a huge headache in the locker room. And so like just a lot of like I don't really like him very much. So the guy after me took Antonio Brown, and then they took T.Y. Hilton. That's a little high for him, but like I think he's going to be a good player. Mike Evans went next, and then Keenan Allen, Dalvin Cook, and then somebody just took Amari Cooper. So I'm picking 31, so let's go through that again. Then 31 is Adam Thielen, and then we got some time. So Adam Thielen, the tier guys that I'm going to be looking at in there. Somebody just took him. That's kind of sucks. But anyway, so it would start all the way up at 28, Devonta Freeman, Nick Chubb, Julian Edelman. I would have considered Adam Thielen there, but he's gone now. Wow, somebody took George Kittle. That's like the guys are like excited for tight ends, I guess. And then A.J. Green, Brandon Cooks, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Oh, somebody took Aaron Jones? Oh, man, that's like, did not think he'd go that high. All right, so let's take a look at my team. And basically, I'm going to move this so I can just look at my roster here. I've got Devontae Adams, and then I've got Juju Smith-Schuster. All right, so, sorry, a little bit of movement there. So I've got 2 receivers, and then do I want a third receiver is the question. I could do that again like I did in the last draft. There's Julian Edelman, A.J. Green, and Brandon Cooks. And then after that, there's like some guys like Stephon Diggs. So I'm probably going to do a running back here. And the ones, I really like Nick Chubb. I think he's going to be good. I'd be tempted to take Josh Jacobs because I think that there's potential in Oakland. But their line is just not good, and it's probably not going to be any better. So of these guys, I'm going to take Nick Chubb. I think that Nick Chubb, it's going to be interesting to see what Nick Chubb does as the season goes along because it's hard to tell like what the role of Kareem Hunt is going to have when he gets in there. And then somebody just broke one of the cardinal rules and they took Patrick Mahomes. Although I guess in the third round, that's high, man. Like I think he was projected to go like somewhere in the 50s or something like that. Like that's just, man. Like that just shows that this person's not watching my show, because he's reaching for a Patrick Mahomes when he's got AJ Green. Brandon Cooks is iffy, but then you got other running backs that are like RB1 potential, like Marlon Mack and Kerryon Johnson, that are here right now. And then you got other guys like Kenny Golladay, and then Cooper Kupp is not bad either. It's just like you could have like really good running backs and receivers you could fill in, and then you reach for a quarterback there. Like, I mean, at least he took Patrick Mahomes instead of Aaron Rodgers, but like you're really like sacrificing yourself when you reach quarterbacks that high. All right, so after Mahomes, it was Josh Jacobs, AJ Green, Brandon Cook, Derrick Henry, Marlon Mack. It's getting to me at 42 coming up, so there's 3 picks ahead of me right now. I don't think I like Kerryon Johnson sitting there at 37, but he's probably going to get auto-drafted. So Stephon Diggs, okay, but he's inconsistent. Then you got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I wouldn't take Cooper Kupp at 41 because he's coming off an ACL tear. I'm not really sure about that, and there's also a lot of options there in LA that they like to use. Alshon, no. Kenny Golladay, I think, is the one I'm interested in the most right here. Running backs, I think Damian Williams is interesting. So if you watch the last draft, I was kind of like not very like. I was surprised somebody took Damian Williams in like the 2nd or 3rd round or something. But now that we're in the 4th round, I think this might be reasonable. But if Kerryon Johnson, for some miraculous reason, stays to me, then I would probably take him. And then right now Parker is taking his time, probably because he left the draft. Because he got bored that everybody else left and it's taken so long. But this stuff always happens in these things, but I don't know. And he took Robert Woods. Man, that's so stupid. Why would you take Robert Woods over Kerryon Johnson? That's just dumb. All right. So, Deshaun Watson, that's man. See, this is what I'm talking about. They start reaching for quarterbacks. Like, I think that Deshaun Watson is good, but like, I don't know if I would take him all the way up at 42, at pick number 40. Man. All right, so I've got a tough decision here. Stephon Diggs is the one they're telling me to take. I'm on the clock right now. There's other running backs here that are interesting to me. They've got Damian Williams. James White, I think in PPR you have to consider. But I don't really like to use New England running backs. There's Phillip Lindsay sitting there. There's Chris Carson. That's a no because he's already got a knee injury. And then Mark Ingram, I don't really like him either. Yeah, man, this is tough. So Stephon Diggs is like... That's probably who I would take. I mean, I really don't like Damian Williams long term throughout the season, but that offense is so explosive. I mean, there is a chance I could draft him and then maybe trick somebody into trading him. I mean, that's something to consider. But, that's tough. I mean, this all comes down to strategy like that. I'm going to go ahead and take Stephon Diggs. I don't really like the consistency there, but I think that considering that he came to me without really being reached, I think that's reasonable. So right now on my team, I've got Stephon Diggs, Nick Chubb, Devontae Adams, and Juju. I really like my receiving core. I think this is a good setup. And I pretty much, with Stephon Diggs, has got a very consistent flex player, and with Juju and Devontae Adams, I pretty much got 2 great receivers. So now my priority becomes getting more running back depth, which... As I'm looking through my picks, the next one I have is pick number 55, which around that range you got a lot of receivers. Maybe Mark Ingram will fall, but I don't know. I would consider Mark Ingram if he falls to me at that point. But the running backs that tell you to take around there are Kenyon Drake, David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, Darius Geis, and then it starts getting into some of the tight ends like O.J. Howard. So... This might be a situation where I reach for O.J. Howard again, but it's I don't really know about that. So They took Sony Michel, which they obviously didn't watch my last video because he's hurt already. And then they took Damian Williams, Alshon Jeffrey, and Kenny Galladay. So now the pick there is James White. Oh my God. Aaron Rodgers just went off the board. Come on, man. This guy's not been watching my show, I'm telling you. Like, why are you taking Aaron Rodgers in the 5th round? Like, pick number 48? Like, that's just stupid. I wonder where he was on the board. Like, I didn't even see him at all just scrolling through the top 70. Okay, so I'm guessing like somewhere between 71 and 74. Because that's where there's like open spots there. But I mean, that is like textbook being stupid right there. Like, you do not draft Aaron Rodgers this high, especially when he's on the board that low. Like, and the thing is, there's probably gonna be people taking him even higher. Is the thing that's sad. Somebody took Philip Lindsay. That's a good pick. Chris Godwin is a good pick. See, that is a reach you want to take. Like, I would rather have Chris Godwin than Aaron Rodgers at that spot. James White. I mean, you're in a PPR league. Why would you not take James White over Aaron Rodgers? That's dumb. And then Mark Ingram, he's maybe not like gonna have a great season, but that's still a better pick than Aaron Rodgers. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. Sorry to rant, but this stuff just annoys me. All right, so then they took Calvin Ridley and Chris Carson. So now I'm on the clock, and they're telling me to take Evan Engram. I don't know why they're telling me to take him. So Tyler Lockett is there. Sammy Watkins is there. DJ Moore. Interesting. Allen Robinson. Jarvis Landry is interesting. So, I mean, some of these receivers are good, but I already have Stephon Diggs, so I think right now my goal is to try to get a more consistent running back. And the ones that stand out to me, they have David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. I would not take David Montgomery here. Darius Geis I would consider, but he's also nursing a current injury right now. But that's a lot of value, and he's probably not going to slip. Although my next pick is 66. He might fall. I would actually take the chance of that. But the one that I like here that I'm going to take is Kenyon Drake, because I think there's a lot of opportunity in that Miami offense. Maybe I would take Tariq Cohen in other situations, but it's tough. I'm going to go with... that's a tough call. I'm going to take Kenyon Drake because I took Tariq Cohen in the last one just to kind of show you some different guys that you want to consider on your team. It's pretty close between those two. It depends on if you like volume or more explosiveness, but I think that both of them are going to get good opportunity, have pretty good seasons. Okay, so then Evan Engram got taken, and then somebody took Matt Ryan. So, like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's, like, people are taking, like, good quarterbacks that you want to reach for, like Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, but you don't want to take Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round like that guy did. But, so then now people are panicking, and they're like, oh, I need to take Aaron Rodgers. And then they're like, oh, I need to take Matt Ryan. It's like, just let them fall to you. Like, you don't need to, like, there's so many guys here like DJ Moore and like Tariq Cohen, for example, and Darius Geis, like and OJ, like they're gonna be like, I'm not talking about OJ Simpson, by the way, I'm talking about OJ Howard, but like why would you not take them over these quarterbacks? I don't know. I can't believe it. I'm like 23 minutes into this thing and we're not even out of the 5th round. Like, this is just sad. If I don't finish this video, I'm sorry, because I might run out of space, but come on, this stuff's just aggravating. All right, so then somebody took David Montgomery. That's a decent pick. And then Hickerson is on the clock, and I'm not sure if he left by now too. But there's a lot of auto picks between me and the next pick, which is pick 66. The guys that I'm considering, so pick number 66 is OJ Howard, and I really like him. So let's kind of play that game of the tiers. There's a lot of auto picks going right now. I'm not really going to have time to do it. But basically, like, I'd go up, and there's Darius Geis, Robbie Anderson, Mike Williams, OJ, Hunter Henry, Miles Sanders, Lamar Miller. Those are the guys that are right around my tier. So in ranking all of those, like, I like OJ Howard because this is good value. I think Robbie Anderson and Darius Geis are also good picks. I don't think Miles Sanders is a good pick at all. I don't like Lamar Miller very much either, or Hunter Henry. And then they have Tevin Coleman it would be the bottom of my tier. That guy would be last because I think that is a terrible running back core. Not because of they're bad players, just because there's so many of them that are going to compete with each other. So the picks that just went. So after Matt Ryan and David Montgomery, it was Tyler Lockett, Sammy Watkins, Tyler Boyd, and DJ Moore. Then Darius Guice got taken, and then now somebody reached for Baker this high, which, I mean, Baker, this is, if you go back and watch my section on the Browns, that's exactly what I said. Like, you don't want to reach for him that high. So, all right. So, Darius Guice is somebody that I would have considered taking, but he got plucked. Tariq Cohen got taken. So, of the guys left, it's O.J. Howard, who they're telling me to take. Allen Robinson, don't really like him. Jarvis Landry, I mean, that's okay. If I needed more receivers, I might consider that. Same with Robbie Anderson, Mike Williams, those are all okay. But the one that I want to take here is O.J. Howard, because as I've already said many times, I really like him for next season. And I think that he's going to break into the top 5. And so I'm going to draft O.J. Howard. That'll give me a tight end. And kind of excited about that now. I'm going to move this camera a little bit for you. Hopefully I didn't block any screen. So right now my players on my team, I've got Nick Chubb at running back 1, Kenyon Drake running back 2, Devontae Adams, Juju, O.J. Howard, and Stephon Diggs. That's a pretty good roster for a 12-team league. I'm pretty happy about that. So like in this situation, like I'm going to try to keep filling up my bench, try to get some more of these guys I could toss in there. And but I might consider, depending on like the as things go along in this, like maybe I'll start considering like Bears defense as something to reach for. I'm kind of curious where they actually are in this thing, and so I'm gonna go ahead and highlight only the defenses for now. Okay, so after O.J. Howard, Hunter Henry, and Jarvis Landry. So Bears defense is not projected to go until pick number 141, and right now we're in the 70s. So I can take my time with the Bears. I would not reach for them here because there's a lot of good flex players I can sub in because Stephon Diggs is injury prone. So that's what I'm looking for right here. There's some good flex guys I can pick. I'm not going to be really looking for quarterbacks right now. So Andrew Luck just went. I mean, that's okay, I guess, at this position, but like if you're gonna reach for a quarterback, like you reach for Andrew Luck over like Baker Mayfield. That's kind of, I don't know about that. So the quarterbacks are, I mean, all these quarterbacks right now are not projected to go until pick number 102. The first one's Cam Newton, and then Carson Wentz, and Drew Brees is next. Like you don't want to start taking them now. I think you want to like fill up your bench with some positional players. All right, so after Andrew Luck, Allen Robinson, Robbie Anderson, Jared Cook. That's a very good tight end pick. Miles Sanders, no. Mike Williams, yeah, that's a good pick. Mar Miller. Wow, Christian Kirk already went. That's kind of surprising to me. I think he'll be good, but this is a little high. And then Russell Wilson just got reached for, and then Tevin Coleman got taken. And then, sure enough, ESPN is telling me to take LaShawn McCoy. And, come on. This is just such a dumb pick of that position. So, let's take a look at the guys that are here. It's LaShawn McCoy, Will Fuller, Marvin. I like Will Fuller. Marvin Jones, Sterling Shepard, Dede Westbrook, Dante Pettis, Corey Davis, Golden Tate. So, interesting here. I like Will Fuller. I would consider him, but I think that I do like these two Giants receivers, Sterling Shepard and Golden Tate. I'm trying to find somebody that could be a little more consistently producing for me because Stephon Diggs is already the explosive receiver that I have at my flex that can kind of have some duds from time to time. So the one that I'm looking at that I think will be the most consistent of those three receivers is Golden Tate. And I already talked about him. I think he's underrated, and I think that he's actually going to have a very big role in this offense, especially initially. And because of that, I think there's a good opportunity for him to get traded and use him at a different point, maybe to get a guy that'll be more consistent down the stretch. But I'm pretty happy with taking Golden Tate there. I think that's pretty good value. Oh wow, somebody took Kareem Hunt. That's bold move there. But actually, this is pretty good value for him, though, because, like, he could have a big role in this offense. I mean, that's a big point of discussion, like, where he was on this draft board. These are kind of things, like, sneak up on you. This is why you want to use the Q, because, like, you can enter your draft room, I think an hour before. I'm not 100% sure on that. But, like, go through and, like, really, like, cue all the guys that, like, I talk about, or maybe, like, somebody else talks about, like your uncle or, like, your best friend or something. I don't even know who you go to for fantasy advice. But and then like, make a list of all those people, and then that way you can kind of plug them in. And that way, like, when you're waiting for these guys to go through, you can just kind of plug and play, and you can kind of see the sleepers, and when you have late round picks, you can start getting them plugged in. All right, so after Kareem Hunt, they took Dante Pettis. Some of these guys are just, like, really going slow. Yeah, so, I mean, you have to... So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see if I can get another running back. You always want to keep getting as many running backs as you can. The ones that I'm interested in around here are Austin Eckler, especially in the wake of the news of Melvin Gordon potentially demanding a trade. Like, that'll really boost up Austin Eckler's status, especially in PPR. So I'm really hoping somebody doesn't snag him here. There's only one more pick ahead of me that's not an auto pick. So they took Vance McDonald. That's a really stupid pick. Will Fuller, good. Marvin Jones. Cam Newton got reached for. So I'm probably going to have to play the QB stream in this game because people are reaching for these quarterbacks, which I'm okay with because there's some good guys to look out for. And then somebody took Curtis Samuel. That's dumb. And somebody took Royce Freeman. Like, man, like, Royce Freeman is okay, but I mean, you're not going to, why would you take Royce Freeman over Austin Eckler? Like, that's stupid. All right, so Sterling Shepard also got taken. So they're telling me to take D.D. Westbrook, which I would do if I didn't already have 4 receivers. So there's a lot of running backs listed here and a lot of interesting topics of debate. So Nick Chubb and Kenyon Drake are both guys that I like. But I'm looking at potential. Darrell Henderson has got potential as a handcuff, but I mean, I only have like one other. I don't have any other running backs that I could start potentially in place of bad matchups. So, but Austin Eckler has pretty much proven that he can still. He proved a lot last year that he could still be a solid play even when Melvin Gordon is healthy. So let's say Melvin Gordon gets traded or does the whole Le'Veon Bell thing like last year, then Austin Eckler is going to be huge value. So I'm going to take him here, and I would be pretty happy with that as my PPR back that I could either plug into the flex or the running back 2 position. So good. I'm pretty happy I got him there.